You all know the significance of Jackie Robinson, the man who courageously broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. But who's responsible for that in other sports? In the NFL, four guys made that happen. A year before Jackie played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, Kenny Washington and Woody Strode with the LA Rams, as well as Bill Willis and Marion Motley with the Cleveland Browns. Willie O'Ree became the first African-American to play in the NHL for the Boston Bruins in early 1958. In the NBA, there are three men who wear that badge. It was during the 1949-50 season that Chuck Cooper became the first black player selected in their draft. Nat Sweetwater Clifton was the first to sign a professional contract with the New York Knicks, and Earl Lloyd, the first to play in a game. It is Clifton's story that is the subject of a new movie that has been out in theaters and is now out digitally, aptly titled Sweetwater. And it's an all-star cast that helps tell the story, including Richard Dreyfuss, Eric Roberts, Kevin Pollak, the Sklar brothers, a cameo from Austin's own Gary Clark Jr., Carrie Elways, Jeremy Piven, and the guy who stars as Nat Sweetwater Clifton, Everett Osborne. And Everett joins me now to talk about that and a whole lot more. Everett, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
Hey, what's up? Pleasure being here, man. Doing great. Doing great.
Real pleasure getting to speak with you, not only because I've had a chance to watch Sweetwater and was just blown away by your performance, but I've learned a little bit of your backstory now. And you are a man about all seasons, including a little bit of history here in the great state of Texas. So let's start with the film first, Everett. As I said, you did a phenomenal job as Nat Sweetwater Clifton in the movie Sweetwater. Embarrassingly, I was unfamiliar with this story before watching the film. How much did you know about the character that you ultimately got to play in this film?
I mean, that seems to be a common theme, honestly. I was the same. And I come from a basketball background, had no idea who Sweetwater was. So when I got the script, it was a dream come true to dive in and figure out about who this historian was, this trailblazer, that I didn't know nothing about.
What was the key for you unlocking the performance that allowed you to pay proper due to this character?
Wow, great question. I think the key is the actual pinpoint word you said, because when you're playing an actual human being, you got to do the research, right? So being that not too many people knew about him, there wasn't that much as far as that I could read, but there was just enough that I had as far as I could find videos of him speaking as an older man. I saw certain clips of him playing. I was able to read a little bit about his backstory, his life, what he went through during that time. You know, as all human beings, as we survive and we deal with our life, it's all based on our circumstances. So I had to really research what he was surrounded by, the year he grew up in, around the Great Depression. What did that feel like? So that gave me some insight to this man, but really listening to him as an older man, kind of just reflect in his cab drive, just talking about what he wished happened. Or he didn't fully put it out there like that, but I kind of had to fish through, and I found the key about him never feeling like he really had the opportunity to show the NBA what he could really do. And I spoke to his daughter, Jatan Robinson, who was a big part in this, and she was always around and been available the whole time. Shout out to Martin Gigi as well, the director and writer, who's kept a great relationship with these people. But she mentioned that, hey, you know, my dad always wanted his story to be told. You know, Sweetwater was a humble guy, put his head down, worked hard, served, all about the other people. So I knew that he wanted his story to be told because he felt that there was a missing piece, that maybe his full potential wasn't pushed out. So I got that key from him, out of his own words.
Now, not only do you need to be a good actor to pull off this role, but also an adequate basketball player, although that's not always the case in sports movies made by Hollywood. But you fit the bill on both counts. You played college ball, so we'll maybe get to that here in a sec, but you don't have a ton of credits on IMDb right now, and this is obviously the title role for this film, so you are serving in a starring capacity. Was there any pressure on you because your credits were limited, and ultimately what made it feel like the right opportunity for you, despite the fact that in theory you're skipping a couple of steps as it pertains to building up to that starring gig?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about life. Like, who sets these rules? Who sets these boundaries, right? Who says, like you said, it's a theory. You know, who says that whatever we see on paper is a true reflection of true capacity or potential in a human being? You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
um, this is just a small example of that. It's definitely from on paper beginning, which it is. It is a beginning for me, but it's something I've been prepared for. So to be honest, there was no pressure because I also loved it,
Mm.
and I was surrounded by great people who loved it as well, and it feels like home. It felt like home as well. So it was really no pressure.
It is an impressive supporting cast. I had the pleasure of speaking with Jeremy Piven and Carrie Elways. Richard Dreyfuss is a part of this cast. I mean,
Kevin
go
Pollak,
on and
yeah,
on. Even Gary Clark Jr. makes a cameo, and I'm going to ask you about him in just a second. But were you able to extract any lessons from any of these other veteran actors that you were sharing scenes with?
Well, first off, huge shout out to those legends you just mentioned. I mean, to have a first starring role and to step in and be amongst greats, legends, it was a true blessing. To be honest, it's a true gift. Every day was honestly a gift. But the biggest part that I speak about is, the biggest lesson that I learned from them was actually being in the war zone with them. And actually seeing how they operated and seeing, okay, these guys are greats. Jeremy Piven, okay, 3 Emmys, right? Richard Dreyfuss, okay, Oscar, okay, Carrie. I mean, all these guys have their own respective accolades, but they showed up like it was their first day on set, like it was their first film. You see what I'm saying? So that was a big takeaway that I saw, just the passion and commitment to the craft and just to the storytelling ability that they possess. That was probably one of the biggest things I've got from them.
So I'm speaking with you from Austin, Texas, which is Gary Clark Jr.'s hometown. And I actually had the pleasure of knowing Gary way back in the day. Always been a humble dude, despite the fact that he is the best musician in whatever room he walks into. And I was a little bit surprised to see him pop up in this movie as a musician. So not a huge stretch necessarily, but Gary does have a couple acting credits as well. What was it like getting to chop it up with Gary on screen?
And Gary is so cool. He's so cool. He really is. He's so cool, man. Like you said, so humble, down to earth, just very authentic, and he fit the script. He fit exactly what we were doing from the beginning as a cast. And we all talked about authenticity. I mean, we're telling a real human story, we're telling a world story. We can't fake it to the people, right? So everybody has to bring authenticity, everybody has to live in that. And Gary fit the mold. So walking in those buildings, in those scenes where you saw in the jazz spot and he's really getting down on the mic, really doing it. It was beautiful. I mean, sweating from the beard. It was hot in there. It was really beautiful. It was almost, I got I don't want to say a free concert in a way, but it was beautiful to kind of step into that and to see him rock out in real life, then have him hop off the stage and then actually, like you say, show the acting chops. So it was really, really beautiful. He did great. Yeah.
So he was actually performing in those scenes.
Yeah, he actually was. I mean, everything was real. And not just the basketball performance, but even the musicians. They were really getting down. I mean, even from the band, everybody was really getting down on this film. There was no faking at all.
What was your favorite part of getting to tell this story, Everett?
My favorite part is the ability to tell this story, what it provided me as far as just being a part of a moment where humans and people can just learn about someone that we didn't know about. Like one of the ultimate trailblazers. I mean, you see the game of basketball today and where it's at, but you never thought about where it started and the trials and tribulations and the sacrifice that someone had to go through to make life better for the next generation. And he never got the chance to see that. So I think the most beautiful part for me is that, okay, hey, there's this one man who thought that his story wasn't going to get told, and it got told to the masses, and his story is still being lived out. So the fact that I play a part of that is probably the most a monumental thing for me. Overwhelmingly grateful, to be honest. But that's probably the best thing, the best feeling about this whole situation. I could sit back and be like, "Hey, I was a part of this," and I pray that his name continues to live on.
So you not only played college ball for a couple of years at UT Rio Grande Valley, but you were also a professional player in Australia. And while you were at UT Rio Grande Valley, you were not only a member of the basketball team, but also the president for all student athletes at the school. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the biggest challenge in serving in that role?
Wow, the biggest challenge is, you go to school, want a Division I scholarship, thinking you're just playing basketball and you're worried about yourself and your own personal goals, and then life hits you and you realize, hey, my purpose is bigger. This platform now provides me an opportunity to connect with people, to students. There's requests that athletes have that they're not being heard about. There's opportunity zones for, the community to be connected to the student athlete base, and we can use our platforms better to help the community we're around. I mean, Texas is such a prideful place and connects with their people. So it was an opportunity to connect those dots with the Boys and Girls Club. So I think the biggest part of that was just balancing that, not planning to do that, not planning to step into that role, planning to just focus on myself and on my personal goals. And then being, having the ultimate revelation, like, wow, okay, here I was pursuing one thing. And now I have to embrace that this is actually bigger than me. And how do I facilitate myself through that? How do I still serve other people, then still take care of Everett? Okay, yeah, I'm not playing today. My coach is going crazy. I thought I was going to be averaging 20 points a game. I scored 20 points one game. The next game, I'm getting benched. Coach is yelling at me. Still got to get on stage and give a speech about leadership and victory. How do we do that? How do we balance those worlds when, you can be going through something visibly, but then have to assume a position where you have to be a vessel of a conduit of change, and connect with people. So it was just that balance of understanding how to do that. And Texas brought me that. I would always say Texas is my home and a birthplace for me, for sure.
What's your favorite highlight from your time as a basketball player there?
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. I mean, that was my first dream ever coming true, right? Really signing the dotted line as a junior, right? Not ever thinking I'll get a Division I scholarship. Only 2% people make it. I was the same kid in high school. My team was up by 50. I'm riding the bench. So I never thought I would get there, but I had the faith and I kept pushing. So to actually see me sign there the last month before school started, walking on campus, it was just that was a huge highlight for me. And we would have like Midnight Madness where all the student athletes would come in and play and watch us play basketball, and the fans would go crazy. And it was just super interactive. So I would say those moments have been very fun. And I always reflect on going on the road, playing with my teammates. I mean, those are moments you would never get back. So it was a beautiful experience.
People outside of the state may be unfamiliar with the area known as the Valley, but Texans know about the Valley. So maybe for somebody listening right now who is unfamiliar with the Valley, I'm going to have you fill in the blank here.
Okay.
The Valley is blank.
The Valley is in South Texas, almost on the border of Mexico, and is a beautiful place with the best tacos.
Why are the tacos the best there?
Just because that's where I tried them at, and Tex-Mex is special. But in the Valley, I don't know. I think right in the Reynosa over there, they make it a little special. The guac is a little different.
So you end up playing professionally in Australia after your college career comes to an end. The Texas Longhorns just lost a highly coveted recruit who is deciding to go play professionally in Australia for a year before becoming eligible for the NBA draft. What was it like playing professional basketball down under?
It was amazing. To be honest, Australia wasn't popular during that time. I went because that was my only option. Europe was pretty much big. I think guys like LaMelo Ball and the guy you're talking about, you're starting to see a change in Australia. But for me, it was the only option I had. So it was beautiful to go out there and be in a whole nother country. And they spoke my language, so there wasn't that much of a culture shock, but then it kind of was because the way they operated was totally different than Americans. So that was a shock for me as well. But they were super nice. Everyone, it's a communist place, so everyone is on the same level. They care about each other the same way. It's an equal opportunity space. I mean, it's a beautiful place, beautiful people who work very hard. But then I just have fun and relax. I feel like in America, sometimes we just overwork ourselves and so caught up on trying to achieve goals. But I learned over there to have a great balance of hard work and then enjoying life and taking it easy. So it was a beautiful place.
You said that they operated differently. How so?
Well, different customs, right? So, I mean, just what I was saying, I'm used to people obsessively working hard and still thinking about it in the middle of the night. They work very hard, but I noticed my teammates will still make time to live their life, have fun, and just enjoy and embrace their community and just their surroundings a little bit better instead of just being so overwhelmed with just work, which I feel like we can get in that wheelhouse on this side of town.
No doubt about that. And that balance is so crucial. You're right about that, Everett. In this country, it's like 60 to 80-hour work weeks are glorified. It's like some badge of honor. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for that, but if you do too much of that, even if you love what it is that you're doing, you're ultimately going to get burned out because you do have to have that downtime to decompress. And of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but for most mere mortals, being able to take a break, to step away from whatever it is that's so consuming of you during the day is crucial for your ability to continue to succeed at it long term.
Absolutely. We have to take that space. Sometimes we feel like we love something, we want to possess it so much, but we got to detach from things we love just to give it space to breathe and give ourselves time. So you just made a great point.
I'm not at all surprised to read that you graduated with a psychology degree from Rio Grande Valley. Like, I can hear that in the thoughtful answers and the cerebral answers that you've been providing me throughout the course of this conversation. Do you have a favorite topic within psychology that you are still learning and reading about here and there, even though you're obviously past the point of having to do so?
Yeah, I've always loved psychology. Interesting enough, I'm reading a book called Mind Gym right now. And Mind Gym it's just about the psychology of performance. And that's kind of where my mind is at right now. And really kind of in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about, of taking that disconnect from what we do, of what we're doing, and really centering ourselves who we are as individuals. So that's really the space I've been at right now as far as psychology goes, of understanding the importance of, in the process of, okay, what am I doing? But what I do isn't who I am. How to disconnect myself from feeling attached to results of what I'm doing as far as performance, how to get grounded, and how to take control of where our mind is at. So there's a point that I read today that talking about don't look in the direction you don't want to go. And it just talks about keeping your mind set on what you want to see and walking in that space and keeping your mind in that direction, So that's a little nugget I got today. So I'll say I've been focusing on that.
Just maintain that focus. I'm assuming that this book, you said it's called Mind Gym?
Mind Gym, yep.
Okay. I'm assuming that this book does also encourage stepping out of comfort zones and failing, because there's plenty of successful people before you and I have pointed out that the way that they were able to get there is not only by doing, but also by failing repeatedly and learning the necessary lessons that can be extracted from that moment to then carry with you going forward, where hopefully you're not making those same mistakes over and over again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just smiling because I'm just reflecting on my life as you're talking. I'm like, there's no way I can be anywhere near where I'm at if I didn't fail. If I didn't fail continuously and just continue to fail. I mean, failure has truly taught me my most beautiful life lessons. We hit rejection as human beings and we want to get up in our shell and, oh, this isn't for me. Let's go the opposite direction. But rejection isn't always a call that something isn't for you, isn't always a shutdown. Maybe it's a call to action to go deeper, and there's more revelation there. So I think failure is one of the most beautiful things. I've heard a quote that talks about if you're able to treat, triumph and failure as if it's the same thing, because they both have equal value. So I agree with you with the failure part for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because success and failure can both breed a sort of apathy, whereas maybe it's a little bit more obvious for people with failure, where you get knocked down and it's hard to get back up and it's hard to try again if you faced any level of embarrassment. Success causes a lot of people to wallow in that success. And when you do that, to the answer that you provided a couple of minutes ago, you lose sight of whatever that ultimate goal is. And maybe you've just achieved that ultimate goal with that successes. There are other goals and there are other dreams that you can look ahead to once you actually reach those various points. Now, on the subject of failure, it is so crucial. We all have those failures in our life that are just so important for our development as humans. Do you have a greatest failure? And if so, what was the lesson that you took from it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought my greatest failure was not being able to fully make my dream come true of playing the NBA. Even out of college, you mentioned I went from college and playing Australia, but the truth is I had a year off. I didn't have any opportunity. No team offered me a deal right out of college. I had a whole year to figure my life out. So I thought I was a failure then. But even though life showed me I was a failure, I would say I didn't truly embrace that. On paper, I was a failure because I didn't achieve my goal, but I was okay, what do I do? So I just kept working hard, kept planning, kept believing, and kept sowing seeds in what I love, and that plant continued to grow without the help of anyone else, right? As far as without the help of me looking for other coaches to sign me, and they weren't really calling me back. I just invested in myself, and I watched that tree grow. And even all up to this point, I mean, Australia, I was playing in Australia, and I couldn't go back because of COVID. So my professional basketball career was stopped, and I had to be in the house and really reflect. And that was the best thing to happen for me, because I thought failure was creeping at my door. Then I researched and realized, hey, what is this moment of solitude giving me? Who is Everett Osborne? What do I really love? I can't do what I love. So who am I outside of that? Oh, I've always loved poetry. Oh, I've always done theater. Oh, I always loved psychology. Oh, I always loved people. Let's start studying. Let's start taking classes. Never knowing I was going to end up stepping into a role to tell a human being of the first African-American to sign an NBA contract and be able to show my professional basketball skills and my professional acting skills. And that's a beautiful opportunity to see how when you're, faced with failure, not to turn the other way, because it could be one of the most craziest blessings on the other side waiting for you have no idea about. So I would say that's been a big thing for me as far as failure goes. But I think failure is just, it's too soon to call something a failure, because success is probably right on the other end. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that answer. That was really insightful there. Now, was it during the year off between college and professional ball that you starred in the Nike short film, Want It All?
There it is. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, you acted at an early age, but that was your reintroduction to acting as an adult. And this is a film that features LeBron James and Kevin Durant too, but you're the guy starring in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just crazy. It's a really wild moment. I mean, I actually auditioned as a background, and they called me back 8, 9, 10 times, then wanted me to act it out, and then they rewrote it and then made me the main guy. I mean, it was crazy. But that was another opportunity to show you, okay, look, I graduated college with a degree. I don't want to go straight into corporate America. I want to play professional basketball. This is my passion. I've worked my whole life for it. There are no opportunities. What do I do? Right? We think life is over. No. There's so many transferable skills of what we put our time into, even if a job isn't giving us an opportunity. What we created, a skill set, can be transferred to wherever our purpose or our intention goes. So I was able to transfer my photo shoots I did at Texas Rio Grande Valley, my videos, my voiceovers, my pictures I did as president of student athletes I had to do. I clipped that up, sent that to Hollywood, and I started sending myself out on auditions. And I transferred those skill sets in my waiting period when I thought I had nothing, because the NCAA no longer was supporting me because I'm out, and there's no professional team supporting me. So I'm pretty much done. But I used those skills, and by the grace of God, I had an opportunity to step into it. And lo and behold, I'm on the same court with LeBron James, and he's throwing the ball off the backboard, and I'm dunking it. So it's a beautiful dream come true, man. That was about 7 years ago.
Dude, that is wild. All right. Before I let you go, Everett, is there anything else in the hopper right now? Anything else that you're that's currently in production or maybe even in post-production that people can anticipate seeing you in next?
Well, I think right now is the most important thing for me. Sweetwater just hit streaming. People can see it on Prime, Apple TV, and so much more. It hasn't even hit international yet. So I've been staying present and really just giving Sweetwater his due and allowing the opportunity to just come to me.
Love to hear it. He is Everett Osborne. Check him out, as he just mentioned, in the film Sweetwater. It is available digitally now. It's a huge cast, and he is the star as Nat Sweetwater Clifton. Everett, thank you so much for the time today, man. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Trey, it's been a blessing, man. Really appreciate you.